Welcome. Happy Thursday, and hope everything is going well for you. I am Brian Powers.
And I'm Chaz Hill.
And this is Inside Franklin Athletics. This is Thursday, the last day before some spring break. But in Inside Franklin Athletics world, there is no spring break, right, Chaz?
No, we are just going to keep riding this train. It's going to keep going. There's no stop.
We're going to crash it. I don't care. With us today, we have a very special guest, probably the second most powerful person we've had on here. We have with us 1996 South Ripley High School graduate, record holder in cross country, track, every event from the 400 meters up, 2000 Marion graduate, all-star cross-country runner for Marion, also all-star track runner. He holds the record in the 250-meter hurdles at Marion. Also,
not anything you've said is true, but go ahead.
The 80-yard turf dash at Marion. Coach of the 2001 boys cross-country state champions. Coach of the 2007. Is that right?
Yep. Yes.
Third place, Franklin Community High School cross country team.
No, fifth place.
Fifth place, Franklin.
Close enough.
Man, you've done your homework.
I smudged a little bit on my notes here. Franklin Community High School cross country team. Second in the all-time leading wins for a head track coach, only to Mike Hall, and all-time leading wins in cross-country coach, just besting out Doug Drenth, and also Franklin Community High School principal Steve Ahaus.
Wow, that was a very fun and inaccurate opening. There's so much wrong about what you just said, but we'll go with it. So.
The high school year and college year graduations were correct, though, right?
I think that's about the schools and the years. Everything else seemed to be inaccurate, but
perfect research.
That's right. That's good. It's the thought that counts.
I pride myself on my research, Steve. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but I pride myself on my research. So, first thing we've asked all of our guests, how are you handling quarantine 2020?
Ooh, that's good. It's been busier than I thought to this point. We've got two kids, 9 and 6, Avery and Brooklyn. And we are just keeping busy. They've got schoolwork and I've got emails. I think my email load, which is always big, probably tripled once we got out of the building because that's the way to communicate. So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff, but it's good because of the district doing some pretty awesome things, trying to help people with food and hotspots so they can get wireless and getting them their information and communicating. And so it's been school-wide, it's been really cool to see what everybody's doing and how much effort's being put into helping the community and helping people, what our teachers are doing to help students. And then at home, we have just made a commitment that we are going to do everything we do to just make it a positive time. So we are like making lists of things we want to get better at and things we want to do. And so we're just having fun with it. So we're kids are doing all kinds of stuff. We're trying to get outside as much as we can and run and exercise and do stuff. So at home, it's been good. This would be a time I don't get to spend very much time this time of year with my kids, because I'm always at stuff at school. And now I'm getting to spend all of this time. So it's on that side of it. It's been looking for the positives, and that side of it's been positive. So
what are some of the most fun or special things that you've now had the time to do that you wouldn't have had to do or wouldn't have had the time for otherwise?
Little things, probably with kids more than anything. My daughter's kind of picking up a basketball now. So we talked about, hey, before the summer's over, you need to be able to shoot a layup at full speed and need to be so now she's already doing that. We've spent like hours outside in the last 2 weeks. So she's just seeing her like do some of those things with basketball and soccer. And so we've been outside. That's been real special because it's just all this time we get to spend together. We just have fun. And my son wants to see all the Marvel movies. So we hit Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man. We're trying to watch them in like a chronological order.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like 4 movies in, and he just thinks it's so cool.
Awesome.
So it's been fun. Those are just little things. We would never have the time to do all of that, or it would come into the summer or something like that. And so all these things that we've been wanting to do or we've talked about doing, we're just like checking them off. My daughter wanted to learn how to play checkers. We've learned how to play checkers. So we got games, we got all kinds of stuff, and we're just checking them off. I'm like, what's the next thing you want to know how to do or what you want to learn? And we'll just go do it. So it's been fun. Those are special moments, especially at the ages they are, 9 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to miss out on any of that time. And when school gets going, sometimes I miss out on quite a bit of it. And it's now I'm getting to do things I just wouldn't be able to do. So amidst all of this stuff that's difficult for so many people, there's been a lot of positives.
So I'm sitting here, you're saying, I just think of like a TV show where where it goes to a pause, where Chaz is like, what are some of the things that you've had a time to do? And you take a pause and it goes to like a cutaway of you, because you're like playing basketball with my daughter and it shows you like a cutaway of you just like swatting her, just saying, get that weak stuff out of here.
No easy buckets.
Like Ed just playing soccer with her and her like against a wall and you kicking it and it goes against the wall and you're like, another goal. Are you going to get tougher? And then you're talking about your son. You're like, he wants to watch all the Marvel movies, and he's like crying and like, I want to watch the Muppets. No, you're gonna watch all the Marvel movies.
We're watching Captain America right now, and there's nothing you can do.
I haven't seen it. I work hard for this.
I will tell you two things on that. One and a funny story. I do not let my kids win. I let them hang around and I do stuff, and I will say occasionally I do let them win things, but my general rule is I'm not going to let them win everything. So I don't swat them. I don't cheat and play dirty, but I'm also not going to let them just think that winning comes easy. So on that. And then to my son on the Marvel movies, we were watching, this was, I think last night or the night before, we get to the end of Thor, and Thor is kissing Jane, and my son, who's 7 years old, is sitting with me, and he goes, "Wow, that is disgusting and kind of poetic." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Just those moments, like those are just silly moments where it's just like, I'm glad I'm in this moment and I'm able to do these things. It's just you just soak it in, like put everything in perspective. It's fun times. So
I like my view better.
No, I do not.
You got your checkers board. You're like, she's trying to learn checkers, and you just take your checker and you just knock it off. You go, are you even listening to anything I say? Apparently not.
Just like throw the board in anger.
My daughter would do that potentially. She's extremely competitive, but I would not. I do not get that angry. So.
I can't imagine. So you are a pretty laid back guy. So done with the virus. We're done talking about it because you probably had enough of COVID-19 the past few weeks. So we're going to talk about your favorite topic, you.
Okay.
So you are from Versailles. Is it Versailles or Versailles?
Versailles.
Versailles, Indiana, South Ripley High School.
It's also not how it's supposed to be pronounced, but I guess we'll let it slide. It's okay.
Correct. We got to remember that is in southern Indiana. That location is southern Indiana. So
I'll have to push down the history teacher part of me for just a little bit, but it'll be fine. It'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, realize that whole part of the state is Milan and, Versailles. And, we got a lot of places down there that are just, they're southern Indiana. They're not France or, Germany or any of these places. So we just got to remember that. So.
All right. So take us through your time at South Ripley High School. What sports did you play? What are some of your experiences and memories from that?
Well, I had small school. So if you think size, probably think like maybe Indian Creek size, maybe a little bit smaller. Played 4 sports. So ended up with 14 varsity letters because I didn't run track my junior and senior year. It just became too much. But I came here and coached cross country, so everybody assumes that I just like run. But I actually played baseball at Marion. Did not run.
So you do not have the 250-meter hurdle record there?
I do not. I don't even know what records at my high school I still hold. I had some cross country and track records sprinkled in there, but I don't know that many of them still hold.
So I was actually at South Ripley a couple years ago for some school thing, and you still had one of the records was still up there. This was 2016, I think, and it was still there.
I think it's like a middle school record. Maybe it's like 9:52 or 9. I don't remember. I went 4:52 in a mile as an 8th grader, but I got DQ'd. So that was at Jeffersonville in a big invite. So
did you cut across the track?
Apparently I cut someone off, but I didn't even know I did it. And so I won.
Man, if you get DQ'd, you gotta go all out.
I know. That's how exactly. That's how I felt about it. I was like, if I'm gonna get DQ'd, I want to like take some people out or something. Like I didn't even know what happened. But.
Well, he only ran 3 laps, so we got a DQ.
Yeah. But ran cross country for 4 years, basketball for 4 years, baseball for 4 years, and then track for 2. My junior and senior year, I started to get a little bit more serious about baseball, and just got difficult to do the 2 sports in the spring because I would play baseball on Monday, running a track meet on Tuesday, play baseball on Wednesday, running a track meet on Thursday. So it's like every night of the week you're going somewhere doing something. And plus, as I moved into high school, the longer distances became a little tougher to do when you're not training and you're doing all that stuff. So they actually did start moving me down. I was running like 400s and 200s and 4x4 teams and 800s. And that wasn't what I enjoyed all that much. So I could help the team out a little bit, but it became too much. So then so I think I still have I have some baseball and basketball records. I don't know. Steals and assists, things like that. I think those still hold, and some pitching records, wins in a season, strikeouts in a season, stuff like that. But
is that what you primarily were as a pitcher?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so then towards the end of my high school playing career, I joined the Indiana Bulls, which is a baseball team out of Indianapolis. And actually I got to know our current baseball coach, Ryan Firebend. I played on the Indiana Bulls with him. And we had a few other friends that are local there that played with. So I ended up at Marion, pretty much focused on education, though I knew athletics was not going to be my ticket to anything. So I actually chose Marion over a few other places I could have gone and just kind of tagged along to programs like Indiana State and Ball State. But I wanted to go play somewhere and then be able to get my education. So it worked out really well. Loved that college and loved being there, and it worked out just the way that I wanted it to. They knew I needed to go to school, and so it was a good balance. They allowed me to do that. They didn't own you. Like I say, sometimes in D1, you go to some of those places, and they take so much of your time that you don't get that balance that you need if that's not your total focus. So it worked out really well and came to Franklin, and then just kind of started coaching from there. But.
So what was your best pitch?
Definitely curveball. So
was that your favorite pitch to throw to?
Yeah, I was a control pitcher, so that really helped. I could pretty much spot about whatever I wanted to throw.
So you're kind of Greg Maddux.
No, not to that extent. Although if we want to talk baseball, I would have liked to seen him in some other era other than when they called pitches 5-6 inches off the plate. He became a legend because he expanded the zone so much. But anyway, I'm not bitter about that.
Yeah.
Who was the baseball player that you looked up to the most when you were a kid?
I loved Barry Bonds, so I was really torn when all the steroids, because prior to him, prior to that, who knows when he started, but I really was a huge fan of his, even though I was a Reds fan and the Pirates were kind of a rival. I just really liked him. So I was a baseball card person and traded for all the Barry Bonds cards I could get. So I had huge piles of those. And then, of course, he steroided up, and that was still a fun era to watch just for entertainment value. But I really liked him and continued to be impressed with what he was capable of doing, even though he was, enhanced. He was still able to do things that I've never seen any human being be able to do stuff like that on a baseball field. So yeah, he was probably the one. And then any Reds, the 90 Reds were big for me. Eric Davis and Barry Larkin and wire to wire Reds. So I grew up, my fandom hit all when the teams that I rooted for were like on top of. Bengals were in the Super Bowl, Reds were in the World Series. IU had just won a national championship in basketball a couple years before. So then, of course, it was all downhill after that for Cincinnati sports. But, that was the pinnacle at like 10, 11, 12. So
if I told you I'm a Yankees fan, would you fire me?
No, I don't hold any hostilities. Steeler fans are really the only people that I dislike just because I question their integrity. But
me too.
Outside of Steeler fans, there's really not anybody else that I get too worked up.
A couple of my best friends are Steelers fans, and it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
They're the team I hate the second most, only behind the Patriots. It's the Steelers.
Yeah.
We have some breaking news to something we were talking about earlier. The Indianapolis 500 has been moved to August 23rd.
Are you serious?
Yeah, just came across. The Grand Prix is going to be July 4th.
August 23rd.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I've been in school for a month.
Man. That just shattered any hopes you guys have of probably spending much time at the track.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I mean, I'm just a race day fan. I'm not a race week or race month fan. So, man, you guys are got to be hurting with this.
I'm going to have to call my dad after this. I've been going to the Indy 500 since I can literally remember, since I was like 4. Wow.
You'll have to still get there somehow, but you're going to be in football season, right? That'll be.
It's a Sunday.
It'll be a Sunday, so.
It'll just make it tough. It's right there in the middle of the season, right when you're getting started. So that might be like opening. That's almost opening game weekend.
Probably. It's either probably the scrimmage weekend or opening weekend. I don't know. We'll have to look.
That's going to mess up the crowd too, I'm sure. If it's a Sunday, no Monday.
Yeah, you usually have that Memorial Day weekend. Monday.
Should have hit Labor Day weekend and just recreated it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's interesting. Interesting little news there.
Yeah, I didn't realize this was a breaking news. Either
we have research coming in through the ears. I mean, that's the only way we get these numbers and these facts. I mean, we got a whole crew back there. They're doing a great job.
After the intro, I'm a little concerned that that's accurate information. I don't know if that's.
I would have said December 23rd,
Christmas Day, the Indy 500.
Hey, it basically is anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So what's like you talked about basketball. Basketball in Indiana is obviously a big thing. What's one basketball game you remember?
Oh, man. Well, I'll give a 1B first. Keith Smart hitting a shot when IU won a national championship.
Naturally.
That's always a memory, just because, again, I was a young kid just getting into sports. Everything was awesome, and everybody's around the TV, so that was great. But really, when Reggie Miller went 8 points, I was huge Pacers fan at that time and just glued to every game. And my dad he kind of can get grouchy, but he was on the Pacers bandwagon. We'd watch all the games. He got up and left right before that, went out. He's like, I'm going to go mow the yard. And he like started to turn the TV off. And I was like, I'm watching the end of it. I'm just going to watch the end of it. Cause he just wanted to go get going. So, he walked outside and he did that. And I remember standing in front of the TV, like, what just happened? How did that just happen? And I went outside and I remember going up to him, like he was getting the mower going, riding lawnmower. And I waved to him. I was like, they won the game. I was like, they won. He's like, no way. I was like, they won the game. I just remember. So that's always going to stick in my mind, that game, because I'd never seen anything like it. And I was such a fan. Those Knicks Pacers rivalry were outstanding.
It was the Knicks and the Pacers, and then you had it in the 500, and that was what a time! What a time!
Yeah. And I know they came out on the losing end too often in some of those things, which I also wonder. I'm a jaded Michael Jordan person, so I always think what is it like? I felt like Jordan got all the calls and got everything he desired from the league at that point in time. And I think there's some Pacers teams there, I think, that could have benefited from a little bit more balanced approach to the NBA. But I don't think they do quite as much of that now as they used to. But
except for LeBron gets some calls sometimes.
Yeah.
Steve, I'm going to say something to you. I'm just going to give you 5 words, and it's going to get the same reaction as someone would say to me. I don't think Chaz will understand it 'cause he's too young, but you will understand it as a big Pacers fan. Larry Johnson, 4-point play.
Oh my gosh. Exactly.
That was the worst. That I still get mad every time I hear about that, or every time, just like that. Thinking about that and talking about that still makes me mad. That was such a bad call on so many levels.
Yeah.
And
that is the thing with the Pacers through that run is there's not equally, there's more moments of just heartbreak than there are like the moments of just sheer, energy because of what they accomplished. Like so many, like almost right there, even to the like Paul George, LeBron era, like all the way through there. There's all these like their franchise is just littered with that almost there moment.
That 2011 through 2013 team, there should have been at least one championship in there somewhere, at least one, because that team was really good. That team was really good.
And the brawl, the brawl. That team was set up. I mean, they were rolling. That was a really good team.
They worked the Pistons, and the Pistons won the championship that year, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they worked in that game. I just remember watching that with one of my friends, and we're watching that, and just kind of like so calm. I just went, "Oh no, that's not good."
That's almost the exact reaction. My wife and I lived in an apartment at that time. We had just gotten married, and I did the same thing. I was sitting there, and she was in the back room, and I go, "Oh no, oh no, oh no!" She like comes out, and I'm like, "Oh, this same thing." I was like, "This is not good. This is not good."
And then it just got escalatingly worse.
Yeah. Hey, the worst part about it didn't happen. The best part of that whole fight for the Pacers was Jermaine O'Neal slipping as he punch that turtle-looking dude, because Jermaine O'Neal never would have played in the NBA again because he would have murdered that guy.
He would have killed a man on the floor, a fan.
And then there was the good scene where it's from behind our test, and some guy comes up like flexing, and then he like realizes all of a sudden he's like, "Huh." And it's just like our test kind of swings at him, and the guy just instantly is like, this is
so yeah, we spend a lot. If we start talking Pacers, you start talking about more of the heartbreak sometimes than all the wonderful things. But my favorite memory is still the Reggie moments and a lot of the Reggie moments with the Knicks where he just did some incredible things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what took you to Marion?
Well, interesting fact. My dad was the first ever inductee into their Athletic Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
So they started their Athletic Hall of Fame, I think, a year before I got there, or the year I got there. So it was around 2000, somewhere in that area. They just started their Athletic Hall of Fame, and he was their first ever inductee. Baseball still holds all kinds of records there, and basically I think when he left held every record they had, but was at that time didn't have surgeries to repair arms like they do now, and so he got drafted by the Reds, and then nothing came of it. He tore up his arm, and was never able to get back from that. So my dad coached my baseball teams, my basketball teams, all the way through and different things. So, and we would go back up to Marion every once in a while just to visit. And we'd go up and watch baseball games, or we'd go do stuff. So it's just kind of a college that growing up, anytime we were in Indianapolis, we'd swing by and go see the campus or go see a game or go do something. We'd go to Butler a lot to watch semi-state basketball when it was there. So we'd always swing by Marion, see the campus. So I was just around it quite a bit. And as through my search, it was just always on the radar. And when it came down to figuring out what exactly I wanted from school, it just seemed to fit really well. So it was a place that they had to have good athletics there. I mean, it had a good we had real good baseball teams there. And I enjoyed that. And plus I really just wanted to go to school. I knew at that point, I didn't want to just go play baseball somewhere. Like I wanted to go somewhere because I knew I wanted to teach. There was a life beyond all of that stuff that I wanted to go prepare for. I wanted to be able to do all those things. So it just worked out really well. It was a good school. Still is. So.
Were there bigger baseball opportunities available somewhere if you wanted them?
Yeah. I mean, again, not anything where anybody was going to throw a bunch at me, like, D1 schools that were like, oh, we've got to have him. But there were several along the way, especially once I started playing with the Bulls, Indiana Bulls, just a lot of people at those games and different things. So several of the in-state schools I had conversations with about going there and could have taken those options, but you're not going as a real highly recruited individual. There's always kind of risk in that. And it wasn't really a risk I wanted to take. And it wasn't so important to me to be on a Division I baseball team as it was to just I wanted to play. So when I got to Marion, I played. So got to play throughout and enjoyed it and got to go to school. And so it worked out really well.
Were you a pitcher there too?
I started just pitching, but I actually tore up my shoulder first game in Florida, my sophomore year, dove back into first. I led off single, guy went to pick me off first. I dove back in and he swipe tagged, hit me in the shoulder, and it popped my shoulder out. And so, which was kind of funny. I was laying with my face in the dirt and my coach is like, get up. And I'm like, I can't get up. And he's like, get up. It's okay. Get up. I'm like, I can't get up. So as I get up, then I can just feel my shoulder like roll back in. And so I ended up having to have surgery and I really missed all basically of my sophomore year. So then when I came back, it was kind of gradual. So I came back in playing infield, which I played some infield, but as a freshman, I just needed to pitch. They needed some pitching and I played a little bit on the infield. But when I came back, then I played, actually went over to third base, which was in a place that I played in high school much, but I had a pretty good arm and could field and move a little bit. And so I ended up playing there and pitching the rest of the time there. So
third base makes sense because you have the pitcher's arm to get it to first base. That's pretty common. Yeah.
So it was fun. So I probably played more infield than pitching even my junior year as my arm was coming back. Then my senior year is when I really mostly pitched and played third when I wasn't pitching. But so
do you remember your first home run?
Oh, first ever or first
like over the fence home run? Yeah.
Little league on a little league diamond. So I can't remember. I think I was 10.
That's the best thing in the world for a 10-year-old. It's the best.
Isn't it pretty cool? It's pretty awesome. Yeah. And then in high school, I hit, I think 1 as a sophomore and I hit, I think 2 as a junior. And then I hit like 7 as a senior. So it was, it's not like I hit a whole lot of home runs. So it was.
You're more of a finesse player. Like do the little things, like just move the
technician. Fundamentals.
Yeah. Advance the runners, do the little things like Billy Bean would love you.
Yes.
I
was Moneyball. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was, Moneyball. So, all right. So you're done. Was education always something that you knew you wanted to get into, like teaching and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't really waver much from that. So getting my math degree, there were things like, hey, you can make more money doing this. There were things that were out there. It's like, hey, these are nice jobs, but I never really wavered too much from that. So it was always education. My mom and dad are educators. my sister's an educator. Both my brother-in-laws are educators, uncles, cousins, so it's just kind of one of those things where everybody in our family seemingly is an educator. And so never even really wavered from it. And I'm glad I didn't. I love it. So
Are Thanksgiving arguments about who's the better teacher if the whole family doesn't?
We don't argue too much. I'd say it definitely is educational conversation. So I don't know that we argue too much about it. Just as much as it's like we compare what districts. So my sister's in Franklin Township, one brother-in-law's in Washington Township, one's in Mooresville. My dad and mom are back home, although they're retired now. So like we're all spread out in different places. So sometimes it's fun. Everybody will just, how are you handling this? How are you guys doing this? So sometimes it's complaints. Sometimes it's, comparing and getting ideas. But yeah, it's always education talk. It seems like my wife, who's not an educator, tires of that for sure.
Yeah.
So you're done at Marion. What brought you to Franklin?
Actually, I applied. I don't know. It's kind of a different world then than I think now. I mean, there were a lot of teachers out there now. I mean, they're out there then. So I think it was a little bit more of a competitive market. I interviewed several different places. I had a few on the loop, but then Franklin came around. I didn't really know much about Franklin. It just was like, hey, it's on the south side, which family lives in southern Indiana, close to Indianapolis. I didn't really want to leave Indianapolis area. And really, I knew Jeff Mercer, who recently left our district, retired. Angela Coy, who is in our community now. Her brother was my college roommate. So just some information started coming my way that there was an opening down there. I really didn't know anything about it. And I was kind of holding off on a couple other places too that I thought I might want to go. And it started to get later in the summer. And I came down and interviewed, and it just worked out. Leighton Turner, who I interviewed with, some of those, a lot of times you find out sometimes it's who you know and what connections you have. And I got to interviewing with him, and towards the end of the interview, he's like, Versailles, he's like, and somehow I brought up the family physician in this little town, Dr. Mulford, who was my doctor growing up, was his best man in his wedding.
Huh.
And we were close to his family, and I would fish at their house all the time and just knew him. Great family. And we just got to talking, and he called down and was like, hey, what do you know? And the doc gave me a good recommendation. Next thing you know, I've got a job. So it was just, sometimes it's just that connection to somebody that you can call and be like, hey, what's this person like? So that's how I just ended up in Franklin. And once they offered, I was like, you know what, that just seems like a good fit. And I've never left. It's just been, I've enjoyed the city, the people, everything that I've done. So I've had no reason to look elsewhere, and it's just been a good place. So,
yeah. So where did you start at the high school? Because you were the year after I graduated, correct? Or no, you would have been two years.
Summer of 2000. So
yeah. So you started at the high school?
I did. Yep. Started teaching math out of the band room. So I taught Jeff Powers and crew out of the band room. And then when the band needed the band room, I would slide over. There was a little closet that went off to the side of the band room that you could go into. And it was like a little storage room with no windows that they put desks in. And so I got to teach, if it was a full size class of like 25 students, I could teach it in the band room. And I taught some like remedial math classes that we would shift over into the like storage closet so they soundproofed the doors enough that it wasn't too bad. So we had to listen to the band while I'm teaching math to like 14 students in desks in a closet. So it was, that's the point Franklin High School was at when I arrived. So we were on the verge of busting out of that high school because of size, and it didn't get any better for the next like 6 or 7 years. So
I'm glad you didn't throw me in a supply closet, Steve. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, that probably just shows how I think of you and then how they thought of me. So
right, so you're teaching math out of a supply closet. You're listening to the band play. Yeah, and you're coaching, right?
I wasn't as soon as I got there. I was just going to help with baseball because I knew Jeff. But then Doug Drenth, who was there, had picked up word that I actually ran because I ran through college. I just didn't run competitively. And so word kind of got out. And so then I connected with him. So I kind of was around a little bit that first year in cross country, which was not a lot, but just around them some. And then by the next fall, I was coaching cross country and baseball. But
yeah, that was Drent's master plan, wasn't it?
Yeah, that I guess I didn't know about. How well, I mean, anytime you walk in and you win a state championship, like I'll take that plan. That seemed to work for him. He did a nice job of that.
Yeah. So coaching cross country and track and baseball and stuff. How long did you coach baseball very long?
2 years.
Okay. And then
when Doug left, I couldn't help with baseball. I didn't feel like I could coach cross country and not coach track.
Yeah.
So that was going to be a tough. So I sat down with Jeff. I hated that because I enjoyed baseball. But I really enjoyed the cross country side of it. Just something about coaching that I seemed to fit more than coaching the baseball side. I don't know. Probably because I put the baseball uniform on and they always thought I was a player and not a coach. So maybe that was part of it. Actually, Jeff Mercer, who's the head coach at IU now, his freshman year was the first year that I was coaching. And some of those guys were bigger than I was. So we went down to Martinsville, just little side stories, but we went down to Martinsville for a reserve tournament because at that point, Jeff had not been moved up, which he soon then just started crushing the ball everywhere. But we went down there and had a really good JV baseball team with that crew. So we're getting ready to start the game. We're all getting ready to take the field, and we're all in this huddle. And the umpire comes over and he's like, "I need to talk to your coach." And I'm like, "That's me." He's like, "No, seriously, I need to talk to your coach here for a minute." And I'm like, "That's me. I am the coach." And he's like, he kind of looks at me. And he's like, "Oh, sorry, coach." And I was like, "Yeah, this is great."
Did you ever think about sneaking out there and taking an at bat?
That would have been fun. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
But then you run the risk of striking out and embarrassing yourself.
Yeah. Almost 3 years I got student lunches through the cafeteria line, though. I'm just going to say. I'm not paying back that difference, but the cafeteria ladies did not figure it out, and I would go to the same lines, and they would charge me student lunch every day. So I just kept walking through with the students and getting lunch. So I'm just saying, there's some benefits to looking like you're 12 when you're, teaching, but there aren't many, but some of those things helped.
That's awesome. All right, so you're the head coach now at cross country, and you're helping out with track. How do you build or extend, or what do you do when you're taking over a program from Doug that's had a decent amount of success, and then you continued that and extended that success? How do you it's kind of a delicate balance to keep what's going, but also put your own mark on it. How did you do that?
Well, short answer was I in the first year, I just did whatever he did. I just took whatever, which it's been interesting because I've learned so much from either Doug Drenth or Jeff Mercer. You couldn't even put into words how much I've learned from just watching and spending time around them for a couple of years there before I even took a program on. It's Doug told me one thing when he left, and it just didn't hit home until after the fact, till a couple years later, a few years later. But he's just I was worried because he just won a state championship. And then after we have our dinner with everybody and we're walking to the cars, he's like, "Hey, I'm leaving and you're taking the programs." And I was like, "What?" What?
Hey, not to whatever. I may have known about that before you did.
Well, thanks for the heads up. Appreciate it. But then we, over the next few months, then like we sat down and talked, and he was like, hey, you are going to mess up so many things your first year or two. He's like, it's just going to happen. He's like, you're going to look back on your first team or your first couple teams and say, they could have done so much more if I was a better coach. And, it sounds bad. Like, it does sound bad, but it's been so true in so many aspects of what I've done, whether it's, coaching cross country or taking a teaching job or taking an assistant principal's job or a principal's job. Like, you just have to do your best and and try to build relationships and work at it, because I've looked back at all of the changes I've had in positions, and each time I've been like, wow, my first year could have been so much better if, so then you just try to prepare as best you can. So, that was a tough transition because I was not ready to take that team over, but I couldn't worry too much about, just had to work as hard as I could and get to know the kids and the parents and the program and read books and talk to other coaches. It really taught me to go talk to people, really be observant of what good people do. Like, what are really good programs? What are really good, leaders, all that kind of stuff. What do they do? And how can I just take a little bit from everybody? I like that. I don't like that, whatever, and try to put my own. So after 2 or 3 years, I felt like the program morphed into my program, but the core was still very much always about what Doug did. Doug was outstanding. I mean, he was just really good. And so the core of what we always did was based on what he did. But I had to make it my own. It had to be my own personality, do our own things, so.
With, when you were coaching, so when you started, do you think the coaching contributed to you wanting to become a principal, or was that something you always thought you do, or was it figuring out different styles of leadership and talking to different people and doing things like that? Was that okay, I want to take more leadership roles in the school as well?
Yeah, it helped. It definitely developed that, because my dad was a principal and a superintendent. And I swore I would never do that kind of stuff. I saw the hours he put in and the work that he did and all the stuff that he was up to. And, at that point, he would get phone calls at home from parents and be like, he'd spend an hour on the phone with somebody who's kind of chewing him out on the phone at home. And I'm like, what the heck? Now it's, maybe cell phone stuff like that help. But I saw what he went through, and I was like, I will never do that. But I don't know, seeing, again, the people that you spend time with and you learn from, and it's really more about confidence and trying to help people and get to know people and support. So each time it's kind of it just grew on me. Being a coach definitely helped for sure, all of those other things, because you just get to learn how to work with people, how to organize, how to plan, how to, just do all of those kinds of things. And so, no, I didn't plan on being a head coach, a cross country head coach. Didn't plan on being an assistant principal or a principal or coming back. None of those things were in some kind of plan that I had in my mind. It's just, but I've learned to just work at them really hard. And it just seems like opportunities have come up, and just kind of keep trying to help in any way you can. So
some of your teams, talk about the teams throughout the time and kind of what you did and how you built that program. Just what the success was for them.
Well, there's obviously 2 programs there, guys and girls. On the girls' side, it was just always about building a program. I think they didn't have very many girls. They had a couple strong girls, but I think we had 4 returning girls when I took the position. And on the girls' side, we ended up getting, I think, 4 or 5 others to come out for the team who had never run before. So for me on that side, it was just about how do we build a program that girls want to be a part of. That was a lot of work, and maybe as enjoyable as anything was just seeing that program develop, because within a few years, we turned that into a really strong girls program. Now I'm hopeful this year our girls can get over that hump. I really would like to see them do it. They've got some great talent. That program is sustained at this point. Like, it's just a matter of us putting the pieces together. I'd love to see our girls program experience what our boys program has experienced a few different times. So I really hope that can work out. But that was my goal, was just to get the girls program sustainable, like that we've got girls coming in with success. And we end up started winning conference championships and competing for sectionals and, you know, making it to semi-states and even being in conversations about making it to the state meet. So for the girls program, to me, that was huge. On the guys side, it was about maintaining what Doug had already built and not letting that slide, but yet being a little bit about how I want to do it. So for me, it was always about the whole program, guys and girls program. So I loved going to summer camps, and we'd have, you know, 55, 60 kids, and, you know, just all those relationships and just seeing the kids grow. So on the guys side, we just had some waves come through. So when we won the state championship, we had a good team come back, and had I been a better coach, I think we would have achieved more. And that's just reality. I think of, you know, I overtrained them a little bit. I think I was, you know, you're that young coach that's like, let's go, 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 go. And I think had we planned and maybe backed off a little bit, but those guys, they work so hard. I don't think that they regret having worked real hard and done all of that stuff, but they were amazing. Campbell, Wheeler, Snyder, you know, on down the list, just, you know, all those guys, that whole team. Then shortly after that, we had the next wave come through, and that's the one that, you know, we finished 5th. And, you know, maybe without the next Campbell, if he wouldn't have been injured, I think that's a team that, you know, might have been able to even pull off something better than that. That was another amazing group. So on the guys' side, we've just continually had some groups come through there. And even in between, there were just really good kids and families. The families have just been amazing. That's the thing that we started. One thing I wanted to really do is build a parent group there too. And they've built that course. They've put time, energy, you know, it's just a really sustained parent group. So I wanted to make sure that whatever we had as a program was something that was going to stand, that was going to last, that, you know, so now we've got so many parents and kids and alumni and coaches involved. Like, it'd be hard for that program to not sustain just because there's so many people invested in it. And that's what makes me happy, is just seeing it go and seeing the job Ray and Adam are doing and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So you, when did it start kind of getting into your thought, like, that you're not going to be able to coach anymore as you're going to grad school or getting your admin license, and kind of how did that come about? Or was that something you knew as you were going to get your admin license?
No, that was something I almost felt bad about, like, because I went back to get my admin license just because I was like 10 years in. I'm like, I think I was maybe 9 or so years in. And I was like, you know, I for one, I need to get my master's. Like, that's just something that made financial sense. It made sense for the future just to get that done. And so what I was thinking about, I was like, okay, master's in math, master's in administration. I'll go ahead and get that. Seems like that might be something I could use down the road. And it took me a couple of years because I really slow played it, and I really hadn't put that much thought into it. And so I wasn't even, I don't think, prepared for it. And so then when I got to that point where I finished, I thought, well, it'd be nice to go for like an interview, you know, and see what, like, am I even prepared if a job were to come up? Could I do that? And so I actually interviewed at a school outside of our district, not even planning on like taking the job.
Yeah.
And so, and somebody had told me this, like, never apply for a job and not be ready to take the job. But I didn't even think about it. So I went for an interview, and all of a sudden there was a second interview, and then they called and they were like wanting a third interview. And I told my wife, I'm like, I may get this job. I was like, I don't know. I don't even know that I want this job. I was like, I kind of just thought it'd be nice to get in the interview format. And then something opened up. Some people internally moved around, and I started putting more thought into it. Like, you know what, I could do that job. Like, that would be a good job. And got the opportunity at the middle school to go over there. So the district called and just said, hey, any interest in this job? And I was like, yeah. So it happened so quickly. And I felt really bad because I had to tell the kids I was leaving, and I wasn't really prepared to do it. I wasn't really planning to leave, and I love those kids and programs so much. So that I actually broke down in front of all the kids. I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm I'm not going to be able to coach because I just didn't feel like I could do justice. Like if I was going to move into that position, somebody who could, and I had two capable, Adam and Ray did a great job for me for a few years. They were ready to take the program. Like it was ready. It was a good time. I mean, I was in it for 12 years, head coach for 10 years. Like that was a good time for them, and they've done a great job. So it was good.
So looking back on your coaching and everything, what's kind of the thing you're proudest of as far as like the what you've left on the program and what you accomplished?
Okay, repeat the first part of that. I missed that just a little bit there.
What's just looking back, what's the thing you're most proud of as far as what you left with the program or kind of what you accomplished?
I've never answered that question with like, oh, this team accomplished that, because I don't, that was all just sidebar to things. Like that was all the product of just hard work. And I'm happy for those kids that they experienced and they were fun moments. It easily, the relationships with the kids and how much I enjoyed those 10, 12 years. Like I miss all of those kids that I coached. Like, and I still periodically try to reach out and haven't to as much here recently, but, kids come back from, 10 years later, they'll come back from Christmas and I'll be texting with them, or we'll meet for breakfast, or we'll do stuff like, the course and the sustaining of the program. To me, that's one thing. And then the other is just the relationships, the camps, the time together. Like I feel like those kids hopefully benefited from that. And that was an important part of their lives. Like I just miss I still to this day miss the relationships. There's nothing like coaching. And so giving that up, I knew I was going to miss that part of my life. Like so it's a part that I still miss a great deal. And that program means a lot to me.
It's interesting that, yesterday we had Bardwell on, and he doesn't really miss coaching at all. And he said he didn't love it as much as playing. And so it's kind of interesting to see that the difference between the attitudes that you guys have, because his attitude was kind of a little bit different than how I can see that you love it.
And it's different too. And I don't know if it's why the decision for me to get away from, not that I didn't, baseball was the same way. Like I really enjoyed working with all of those kids, but there was something about coaching baseball that was different to me than coaching cross country and track. And it wasn't, I don't even know if it was in what I was coaching. I just loved the way that I could go out on a run with 20 kids and talk and joke around and do, like, it was more of the relationship. So that's what I miss. And, the day-to-day of it does grind on you after a while. Coaching does. I mean, the day-to-day of upkeeping all of that stuff, like I don't necessarily miss all of the, running 350 out of 360 some days a year, but I miss, so I don't know if I would have developed that same thing in baseball. There was a time when I was coaching baseball that I didn't love coaching baseball as much as I love playing baseball. So I can relate to that. I really miss coaching kids. It's just the kids. It's just, it's so not so much the sport or the competitiveness or all that stuff, which I do miss, but I just miss the relationships and the families and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's because I coached cross country and track as well. And it was kind of a double-edged sword where you go out on a 4, 5, 6 mile run with kids. And I mean, that's when it's just like going out with your friends when you go out. Sometimes some of the things you talk about were different, but I mean, you go out and you talk, and that's just kind of what you do. You just go out and you run and you talk, and even just coaching them, like getting away from the school day itself. You're just sitting there, and it's just like, I mean, more so with high school kids. When I coached high school, with middle school is a little different, but high school kids, it's just like you're just sitting there and you're just, whether it's a handoff or something like that, it's just like you're just talking to them, or in between reps of a workout, or you just do a hard workout together, and there's just that thing that connection that you get. But then the downside of it is like cross country and track, that's year round. I mean, you get a 2-week break after cross country, and then you start track conditioning, and then you get 2 weeks, and then you start cross country again. That was a grind.
Yeah. Well, and Chaz, I mean, in football and different things, like what I miss too is like there's the X's and O's, and that's great, and that certainly can be exciting, and that's that's part of, for me, creating workouts, doing stuff like that. In baseball, it'd be the same thing, teaching technique, doing all that stuff. But like, there's nothing quite like learning your kids, learning your athletes, and like knowing what motivates them or what drives them, figuring that out, and then seeing them go benefit from that. Like that you know exactly what to say to them, or you've told them something, or you've kind of got them over the hump mentally or whatever, and then all of a sudden they go out and have that moment where like what you just said happened on the field, or what you said just they just PR'd by 10 seconds. Like that to me is what I miss. Like I don't miss all the other details, but like there's that getting to know your athletes and your students so well that you know how to drive them, and you're really working with them, and then to see them go succeed is just like a awesome feeling.
It really, I can vividly remember earlier in the season last semester, Cam Hill was one of our cornerbacks, and we had a drill that I did with our DB guys, and you had to. It was, raking the ball out of the receiver's hands as they went up to catch it, and you had to like make sure you stuck your hand through their arms and rake the ball out. And I can remember him covering a post route, and the first time it happened to him, the kid caught it and he couldn't get it out. And then we talked about it on the sideline. We're like, remember the drill, the drill that we worked on all week or whatever. And then later in the game, he does literally perfect technique, is exactly what we coached and worked on, and it was just one of the coolest feelings ever. It was awesome. So yeah.
And I think the great coaches and the great leaders, like they love those moments for those people, not for like, there's a personal satisfaction you get from that. But like you like, to me, I miss those moments because I miss seeing those people that way, like those kids that way, like crossing the line and having that moment where they realize they just won a race, or they just PR'd, or they just did something, and like I'm so excited for them.
For them,
like,
for you. Yeah.
That doesn't change in leadership in any kind of way. Like it's the same feeling you get in different ways when you move into different positions. But like those moments of which that like, hey, my efforts to help this person really did help this person. Like, and that's a pretty cool feeling. So I miss that part of coaching, just that moment of just like, because that family's excited, that kid's excited, that the team's excited, and you're just like, that moment where you can just feel good for them, like, and for what they accomplished. So I miss that stuff.
And the cool thing is that the only two people that know what went into making that moment for that kid is you and the kid, and how many, whatever it's running, how many miles they ran during the week, or if it's football, what drills they did. Like, that's just a cool shared experience that only the coach and the athlete kind of have together.
Yeah. And it's a great big responsibility on us as educators to know that like we have that potential with kids, like, and how important it is that we use those moments to be about good, because we can equally teach them bad things or bad habits or wrong ways of handling stuff. So like you really puts an emphasis on how we treat that, because that moment, if you have that with that athlete, you now have a relationship there that they trust you, and they know that you're working with them. And so you have to be able to then reflect that positivity and that ways to do things, because the more that happens, you build those relationships, the more they look at you and trust you and believe in you and want to replicate what you're doing and want to like, so it's a powerful thing that we have as educators in the classroom and on fields and stuff where, we can at times have more impactful relationships with those kids than many people in their lives, like maybe even including parents. Like they can get to where they trust coaches and they believe in coaches and teachers. So we have a real power we can't take for granted sometimes, and it's pretty cool, but it's a pretty big responsibility.
Yeah, for sure. So you become principal of Franklin High School. How did that kind of come about?
Again, not anything same comment I made when I said I wasn't going to coach. didn't really want to be a cross country coach, didn't really want to be an assistant principal, and those things kind of came up. I had all equally felt bad because people had asked me before, like, oh, well, you're just trying to get back to the high school. And I'd even told my wife, told my family, like, I don't want to be a high school principal. Like, there's so much time, so many things involved in that. And like, so people even at the middle school would ask me from time to time, like, well, the high school job opens, you're going to go take that, right? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And I really did like my time at the middle school. It's good. There's awesome people over there. And, it opened up. And when it did open up, Dr. Clendenning had called me and just said, hey, how'd you like to be the principal at the high school? And I think he thought I would just be like, absolutely. I was like, nah, I don't think so. And he was at first, and I don't know that I answered it that way, but I was just like, I don't know about that. Like, so then we just had to have some conversations. I just needed to make sure that and it's not that I didn't want to, I love the high school, and I'm so happy I am back at the high, like I've loved it. Like it does feel like home, and I've never regretted it for one second, but I needed to make sure that my family was not going to suffer the consequences of that, which it's a lot of time away from home. I got 2 young kids, and, like now they're 9 and 7. At that time, they were around 6 and 4-ish. And, there is a difference between being at the middle school and the high school in terms of time, events, and everything you have to be at. And so I had to really sit down and talk with my wife and Dr. Clendenning about, hey, are you going to be okay if I can't make it to some things every once in a while because I need to be with my family, or I need to be at church, or I need, sometimes I'm just going to have to do that. And it's worked out fine, but I had some real reservations, not from do I feel like I want to be there, or do I want to work, because I missed a lot of people at the high school, and it's great to work with them again, but just, was it the right fit? Was I going to get overwhelmed, because it's a tough job. And I think at that point in time, I was 15 or 16 years into Franklin. And I think we'd had like 7 principals in 16 years or something like that. And, so I was even asking Dr. Clendenning and some of the people, like, hey, why is no one able to sustain this job? Like, and what makes me any different? Like, am I just going to, because I didn't want to leave Franklin. I don't want to get here and it not work for a couple years, 2 or 3 years, and people want me out, or I feel like I can't handle it. And now I'm, what am I going to do then? Leave Franklin? And that's not something that would have been the next step, really. And I just didn't really want to be put in that position. So it was a little bit of a leap of faith, but at least on my end, how other people feel, but I feel like it's been good. I've enjoyed it and glad I'm there.
So that leads us into one of our last questions for you. Yesterday, we have this thing on the show where we leave a question. So yesterday, like you talked about, Brett Bardwell, FCHS legend, was on, and he left a question for you. And then also, I want to ask you the same question I asked Jeff, because he answered it. He answered this question as you.
Okay.
So this question, Bardwell asked, what's the best thing about being principal at FCHS? And I asked Jeff who the fastest person in the building was, and he said you.
Okay, so I'm supposed to respond to both of those?
Yep.
Okay. Best part of being at the high school, I think it's just everything that I kind of mentioned at times. Like, I just love the families and the kids in the town. I've just gotten to know so many people, and like, even through we were talking earlier about the virus stuff, like the way that the city of Franklin has jumped in to help people. Mm-hmm. And Brian, you're on some of those calls, like we get on calls as different groups, admin PLCs or cabinets or whatever. Everybody in the group is talking about what's best for people and kids. And like, as long as it stays that way, I will not be leaving Franklin. I mean, as long as the conversation is always about what's best for kids, it's not that everybody's going to like that decisions all the time, but I can tell you, I'm never in a meeting where I feel like I'm talking with a bunch of people who don't care about trying to make the best decision for kids and families and teachers and everything. So we got good leadership. We've been blessed with a board who cares about kids, a superintendent that cares about kids, on down the line. So it's been good. And then the fastest person in the building, I don't know how Jeff would manage to say that I was the fastest person in the building.
It's Jeff.
Okay. I'm not in any kind of shape to claim that currently anyway. I thought you were the fastest Powers anyway.
I am. Absolutely.
Is that not true? Okay.
Always have been, always will be.
Okay.
Now, what are we using to determine fast, though? Is
Well,
it fastest mile?
Correct. See, Chaz is in a different world. See, we're talking distance, so we're talking. Yeah. Yes, I agree with you, Chaz. Like we have to define. We're talking 5K. On course, I think I'm 15. I think it's 58 or 56. I should know that. You should really know your course PR, but I believe it's 58 or 56. And then road, it's 15:40.
So what's your fastest mile? We asked Jeff this too, because that's like the distance runner question.
Yeah, I'm not solid there. So I'm only at 30. So I was never able to get under 30. I think had I really been able to, I don't think, I'm pretty certain I could have focused on that in high school, but I quit after my sophomore year track side of things. And I never really went after the mile. So and then really when I've been out, I've not ventured much off of the like 5K to, 5 miler. Like I don't do marathons. I don't run miles. I don't, that's kind of my wheelhouse that I stick in. So
it's kind of funny though, because how you said that, like you were like with 4:30 mile, you were like dismissive, but it's kind of one of those things where it is like that I've never run anywhere close to that, but as being someone who is a coach or a runner, like it is one of those things where people who, no offense, Chaz, but I don't picture you as really a runner. Chaz would probably hear that and be like,
"Excuse me, I'm not at all."
Distance.
Chaz would probably hear that and be like, "Oh, 4:30 mile, whatever." But then, like, you get around people who would be runners, and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's."
Yeah, like Jeff, who's clearly the fastest person anywhere close to us. So.
And then, but yeah, it's like 4:30 is kind of like it sounds impressive, but then if you're around a lot of people who are runners, a lot of them are like, "Oh yeah, I ran a 4:30 mile. Yeah, I ran."
I would commit heinous crimes to be able to run a mile in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I've never been able to get under 6. So
you could do it. If you trained, you could do it easily.
Okay.
That's a goal. Podcast goal. I heard it right there. To get Chaz under the 6-minute mile.
Our guest tomorrow is Jake Sappenfield, former FCHS athlete. Do you have a question for Jake Sappenfield?
I do. I know Jake. We know of each other. I don't know him real well. He was athletically a little bit before my time in Franklin. So I would be curious to know either one of two questions, which would be who's the best athlete he played with or that he's seen at Franklin. And I'll let him judge what athleticism. I guess it's not going to be who can run a faster than 4:30 mile, but he athletically, who's either who he played with at Franklin or who he saw at Franklin. That would be good for me.
All right, we'll do that.
All right.
Okay, Chaz.
Oh yeah. So I also have a question that I like to ask because I think it's fun. I'm a big movie guy, as you probably know, Steve. Yeah. I think you can tell a lot about a person by what movies they like and like kind of things about their personality. You can also do that with like music and TV shows and stuff too. So I like to ask
and how clean their car is. That's one measure I take.
And how they treat wait staff. It's another way.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So or if they claim to be a student when they're actually a teacher in the cafeteria line.
Questionable judgment. Questionable character there.
So I like to ask if you had to pick like 3 to 5 favorite movies of yours or movies that you have like a good connection with or something like that you really enjoy. Not necessarily in any order, but just like 3 to 5 that you really like.
Top of the list, probably Groundhog Day. I enjoy funny movies, but like with thoughtfulness. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a big
smart
Yeah,
comedy.
not a Jim Carrey, like, you know, do silly, stupid stuff, like smart, funny movies. So I do like those. Godfather is towards the top of my list. Godfather 2, if I had to be more specific. But I do like good movies. I like gangster movies. I don't, you can analyze that however you want. But I do like a good kind of like gangster movie. But again, very thoughtful movie.
Yeah.
Then what else? And I like action, like Star Wars movies. So it'd be hard for me, maybe just the whole Marvel, Star Wars, you know, those kinds of movies. I like epic, drawn out stories and like some of those things. I like, you know, the Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Marvel, how it carries on, like just fun movies that are kind of action, and all of those have some like funniness to them too. So I'd probably have to go with those. So.
Okay. All right.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time. I know this has been a busy time for you and busy time for everyone, but on the plus side, here in a couple hours, we get to start spring break.
Yeah.
Spring break, right?
Yes.
So we've got a couple weeks off for that. But we just we thank you for your time with us today. Anything you want to add?
No, I appreciate it. For the offer and for what you guys are doing. And we need to get the word out there. I mean, I know we're just right on the verge of this taking off. So I appreciate like you slotted me in right as this whole thing is like getting ready to explode. So, I mean,
it's going to the moon.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
So, all right. You guys have a wonderful break. And thanks for all you do for the students of Franklin.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. And we will see you tomorrow on Inside Franklin Athletics with Jake Sappenfield. For Chaz Hill, I am Brian Powers. We will see you later.